how are you doing today outside of almost melting?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I'm actually in the middle of a little bit construction work, a renovation of our home. So we have a little bit of a
Oh,
mess here. So that's why I do it without camera. I hope it's okay.
yeah, absolutely. Yep, I can just do pictures and stuff over the audio, so that's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no big deal. Oh my goodness, you got a lot going on then.
Yeah. There is really a lot at the moment with the album and with my normal job and with renovations and yeah, everything. But I try to manage.
Yes, yeah, that's all we can do sometimes. Do you have an interview right after this one?
No, this is actually the last one today.
Okay. What time is it there?
Here it's 6:30.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. Yeah, it's 10:30 here, so quite a bit of a difference, but not too bad.
Okay, so it's oh yeah, I always forget about the different time zones.
I know, it's so weird. I did an interview just yesterday too, and it was like 11 p.m. where he was. He was in Finland, and I think it was 1 here, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, what are you still doing up?" But I guess
Damn.
uh, I guess some people are night owls, and really I am too. I'm usually up past 11 as well, so I don't even know why I thought it was so weird because it was daytime here, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, that's the way it is.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, let's talk about the album that's coming up. I've already, had the pleasure of listening to it multiple times. Um, yeah, it's great. It's really great. You've had two releases so far, and even though you have had some previous releases before, this is like the debut album. How long has it taken you guys to prepare for this and create this? Because my assumption is you were probably working on this pre-COVID.
Yes. It's funny you ask because yeah, this album really took some time to create. But there is several reasons for that. And the first reason is, for example, the pandemic, we couldn't release the album before this whole thing blew over. So that is one reason that it took us so long. But the other reason was also when I founded Defacing God back then, 2015, I decided that I wanted to really be sure that I could come up with something good before I even went public. So we started back then to really experiment with our style. I mean, mainly we play Scandinavian death metal or the melodic death metal, but we always like to experiment with the sound and mix several of all these styles. So in the beginning, we had a vision, and the vision is still the same. But when it comes to creativity, it's always very chaotic, and you always come up with new ideas, and then you have to change your sketch and throw it out, and maybe start all over again. So the whole writing process took a lot of time, and this debut album, it really learned me. It so to say, or how shall I say it? It gave me a lot of new experiences to. Okay, now I know how to write the next one, and to do it a little bit more not productive, because it has been very productive, but I know what to avoid now and what to focus on, what to focus a little bit less on. So
Right.
I think all in all, this album took us, yeah, 4 or 5 years actually to this day.
Yeah. Well, that 2-year downtime hopefully gave you that room to be able to really focus on those things that you were wanting to, perfect and like you said, the trying to sift through the chaos. So hopefully having that downtime was a plus, as much
Uh,
as it could be.
yeah, I must say it was a big plus when it came to the creativity or to being creative, because during the pandemic, I came up with the idea that I wanted to add some extra layers to our sound. I mean, not just the guitars or the drums. I always liked this grandiose style, because I'm a previous choir singer, so this grandiose style always talked a lot to me. And so during the pandemic, I actually came in contact with one. Nowadays, he's one of our good friends. I came in contact with the last winter. He had known my guitarist for many years, and they even played in a band together many years ago. And with him, we decided to add these extra layers to our music through these symphonic parts, these orchestrations. So in that, the pandemic was really productive when it came to the creativity. But on the other hand, I think many of us we ended up by being a little bit frustrated as well, because even though we had a lot of time, always had this pressure behind us, like, okay, but when do the world open up again, or be the same again, or it is even for any use, so to say. So there was both pluses and minuses to it, but mostly, yeah, it was a plus when it came to the creative part and the writing process.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see how that would be both, especially when you're wanting to get it out there. And obviously, a lot of people want to piggyback tour off their albums and, couldn't do that. So I'm sure there was definitely some frustrations with just wanting to get it out, but having to wait until the world started opening back up.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty frustrating because we were really like, poor, because the whole process just became so slow, So we almost lost our faith in it, and we were really
Yeah.
afraid that if this would ever happen. So the day we actually got to go, and the day the world opened up for real again, we were really relieved. Yeah, now we just look forward to get out there and spread it across the globe.
Yes, yeah, and you're already getting, with the 2 songs that you've released, really high praises. A lot of people are very much enjoying what you guys are doing, and had a lot of positive feedback. Is that, that's got to be a huge payoff after waiting this long and not knowing. Obviously, we never know how people are going to react. So, how has that been for you?
I must say, I was actually really overwhelmed by this huge and also positive feedback, because I see that, yeah, or we all know there is so many new bands nowadays, and bands pops up all the time. So of course I do this with my whole personality, and I put my soul into this. But I'm still aware that we didn't invent a new genre or anything, and I know how quickly people are to judge uh, when it comes to new bands. It's nothing new, we have seen this before, blah blah blah. But the whole point with that, I never wanted to create a new genre or invent a new genre, because I love and adore these old Scandinavian metal traditions. So I really wanted to play the genre, but I also wanted to, add a lot of personal interests to it, and I wanted to twist it so that a well-known and loved genre became unique for me, with my personal touch. So I was a little bit, of course, but I think every artist are a little bit nervous when they release something new, because one thing is that it's the most important thing is that we like what we do ourselves, but we also need the audience, to actually keep doing what we're doing. So I think every artist is very nervous, but I just got totally blown away over how well received it is, and I'm really, really, really grateful. So, I am definitely gonna. I will keep going on with this.
Yes, yes, good. Good to hear. Now, you said you were a choir singer before. So the choir parts in some of the songs, is that you doing those parts as well, or do you have like a background choir back there?
Yeah, actually, in most of the songs, it's organic, which means it's me who record tracks with my own voice. Yeah. But of course, that there is also some of the songs where the choir effects are a part of the keyboard plugins, so to say. But I also wanted it to be organic, and I wanted to challenge myself, because I didn't do choir singing for many years now, but always loved it. So I thought I wanted to give it a shot with my own voice. So I had a lot of fun recording that.
That's really neat. It's really cool. Those harmonies are really beautiful and add a whole other element to the stories that you're telling, which is what I'm going to jump into next. I there's a lot of this stuff that these people that you're talking about that I didn't know a lot about. I obviously have heard names and know like maybe just little bits, but I started doing some research and thought, oh, this is a lot. There's a lot of very interesting history that you are bringing up in these lyrics, and all female figures. And it's really interesting, as a female, obviously myself, it's very interesting how you are using this platform to talk about some really important stuff, even that's going on nowadays, even though it's history storytelling. There's a lot of parallels. Is this, with the name of the band itself, this seems like kind of your foundation of what you're laying. Tell me a little bit more about why you chose this foundation and what your inspirations for going this route is.
Yeah. The album itself, or the whole theme of Defacing God, is something that really applies to me, because I chose this whole Lilith figure as my stage alter ego or persona, because I have been reading a lot of stories and myths and folklores about Lilith through the time. And I think actually most people who are interested in occultism and darkness and witchcraft, they have stumbled across Lilith one time. I think most people have heard her name before. So
yeah.
She is not someone that I invented or anything, not at all. But she has always been a big part of my personality, so to say. I am especially inspired by the story you will find within the Christian area, where it's said that Lilith, she was the first woman created even before Eve, but she left paradise or Garden of Eden because she simply didn't want to obey Adam. She wanted her way as well. She wanted to have a voice. So she ended up, roughly said, saying, fuck this, and she left paradise because she wanted to go her own way. And she was hunted down and chased by the archangels sent by God, and they had to threat her to come back, but she still refused to come back, even though they put a curse over her. All her children she would give birth to afterwards, they were going to die, So, but she still stood her ground, no matter how much challenges she was standing in front, she kept saying fuck this, and she stayed true to herself,
Mm-hmm.
And that really just spoke to me because, yeah, I said there's hundreds of stories about her, and everyone knows who Lilith is at some point. But the reason I wanted to carry this on, because this story really inspired me, because in my own personal life, I have always felt a little bit different, because I come from a little town where most of the women's biggest dream were getting a few kids and getting a house, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I just never dreamt about it,
Mm-hmm.
So I always felt different, and I have been bullied a lot because I was different, my style was different, and my parents were really different compared to the other parents from my school, for example. So somehow I have always felt a little bit like an outsider, and but even though I had a lot of all these obstacles and challenges in my life, I still kept being myself, and I always had this muse and this strong force within me who just kept me on track and kept strong, and made me chase my dreams, and no matter what, because no dream is too big for me. And that's why this Lilith character, she's such a big part of me, and that's why I use her on my albums. I want to tell everyone that no matter what, you can achieve what you want. You just have to believe in yourself. There's always a reason to believe in yourself, so to say. So that is the overall idea behind it. But also, I'm a woman. Lilith is a woman, and I can only speak about the world from a woman's point of view because, yes, said I'm a woman myself, and I just still see, a lot of oppression around the world, and people cannot deny that. Even though both men and women had challenges and had a hard time through history, no one can deny that women just had how to say that in English. They just had a lot more, challenges, because if they didn't, for example, have a rich husband in ancient times, yeah, then they were doomed, you know, and they were forced to stay in the house and to raise the children, and they didn't have much opportunity. So that is also why I use Lilith to as a woman to speak up, to give these women who never had a voice, to actually give them a voice, you know. Um, so yeah, it's a big melt together, and I could actually speak for days about it, but yeah, I don't think we have that much time. So
It's so important, though. It's so important. I was a lot like you as a kid as well. Came from a small town. Was, you know, I mean, one of the only metalheads, let alone the female metalhead. You know, and there was a lot of yeah, people didn't understand it and automatically would ostracize you for it. And so I definitely understand. You're like who I needed back then, just to feel not alone.
yeah, I mean, and that's what I mean. And nowadays, I became that woman that I needed back then, you know. And
Mhm.
if I can just inspire one person in my life to, you know, to be strong in their own skin, I mean, then my life is complete.
I love that. I think that's so wonderful. And I love that you stay true to yourself. I think that's so important. There's a weird comfort in the discomfort when you do that, especially when in your youth. So coming full circle now, as an adult, how good does it feel for you to comfortably be yourself and put yourself out there and know that that is more accepted now, you know, than when you were younger, and it's and you get to show that real true part of yourself without having to feel as demonized. I'm sure there's still people out there, but you know,
Yeah.
a lot more support.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it feels good to. I mean, I have always done whatever I wanted, you know, no matter the cost, so to say. But I think I nowadays I feel I have much more peace within it, you know, because if I had done this like 10 years ago, maybe, then I would maybe have been a little bit more insecure because you know I was young. But the older I got and the more experience in life I got, the more strong I also feel and the more comfortable I also feel in my own skin. And I found out, you know, you are literally on your own in this life. So if you do not love yourself and if you don't feel strong in yourself, who else will do it for you? You know, nobody comes to save you. So but yeah, I guess it feels really good, and I also feel much better about myself nowadays than back then, so to say. So, and that's why I always keep telling, you know, just keep steady because you will always survive in the end, and it's always worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I couldn't agree more. I had read somewhere that for a while, one of the paths that you were thinking of going after you had graduated high school was into social work, which is I'm a counselor, and so I'm kind of parallel to that world, but kind of got to a point to where it was draining because it's tough working with humans. It's tough, especially when it comes to the emotional depths of them. It's
Yeah.
important, but it's tough. So is that kind of what you were going a route, obviously wanting to help humanity, but you're still doing that, just in a completely different form, and in a very important form, because music is something that speaks to all of us. So I feel like you kind of still are carrying that torch, even though you didn't necessarily go that route.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is just another way of being a change in the world, you know. Because when I was younger, I wanted to work with people who needed a strong hand, you know, because I grew up in a very tough environment. So I know how it feels to come from an environment that's really tough, you know. So I always had a big understanding for people who were challenged, you know, in life. So I thought I maybe could help them, but I just the older I became and the more time I spent on art and on music, I just figured, okay, if I have to really put my soul in this, I had to skip everything else because I cannot be two places at one time. So instead of working in the social work area, now I try to express myself through art instead, and I try to inspire and help people through that instead. I know it can sound a little bit superficial, but you would only think that if you don't know who I am as a person, because I really have a caring heart and I'm a fire soul, so to say. So that is why it is so important for me to be someone who speaks up for the ones who needs it the most, and I'm not afraid to take the hits that comes with it, So yeah, that
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. I definitely don't think it's superficial. I think just digging into the lyrics itself, really, even though you are telling stories, I still feel like there's a lot of I don't know if personality is the right word, but personality that shines through, and you can almost tell what kind of person you are because there's so much passion there about something so important, and you have, I think there was, I want to say about 4 or 5, I want to say 5 female figures that you have throughout all the songs. I feel like that's right.
Yes, I have like 3, I think 6, because I have Lilith, of course, and then I drag Jezebel and Abuso, which is folklore. It's demons. I drag in there, but then I have like the song Death Followed Like a Plague, and then I have the song Echoes from Fulda, and these 2 women are actually real women who were executed, burned at the stake back in the days. Where, for example, Echoes from Fulda is about Mergebien, a German woman who were executed in Fulda, the German town. And that was a bishop, I think that's what you call it in English, who were in front of all these, how to say it, all this, all like these witch burns, all the witch burning in Fulda back then. He was the one responsible for all that. And he wanted to burn this Mergabian because he thought she was pregnant with the devil himself, for example. And the song Death Followed Like a Plague were about Alice Kudler, and she is actually said to be the very first woman accused for witchcraft in Ireland back in 1324, I think it was. And she were actually, and that particular story actually refers a lot to what I mean about this whole woman thing, that women are easily accused, because that song is about this Alice Kudler, and she was married 4 times through her life. That's why I call her a serial monogamist in my song. And but all 4 husbands that she had died from unknown disease. I think it was the plague, but people back then didn't know it was just the plague. And when her 4th husband, he were on his deathbed, he changed his will to her benefit right before he died. And the family became very jealous and rageful against her because they couldn't understand that why she should have all his things. So they came up with the accusation that it must be witchcraft. It must be her fault that he's dying now. So they chased her, and wanted to execute her because she must be a witch. But somehow she stood through, and she was written out of history. And it's said that she actually survived it. So, but yeah, that is just one out of many stories where you see this way that women have been treated. And I'm not done talking about it.
No, well, good. I hope that you do continue to, because I do think it's a really important foundation. I think it's a wonderful avenue to use and music, again, I mean, speaks to everybody. And so it's a really good way to get those stories out there in such a creative and just amazing way, So I'm assuming you're probably a book reader with all of the history that you have in here.
If it was all written in books, or
Well, no, I'm sure you get information from everywhere, but I was just saying I assume that you do read books because there's so much
yeah,
information. I'm sure you get it from all different places, though.
yeah. But yes, I am a nerd when it comes to books. I always love to read, so yeah, I still read a lot of books. So yeah, but
What
you're
are
right about the inspiration comes from everywhere.
Right, yeah, because I mean, thankfully that information is everywhere. I'm a big book reader too. So, what are some of your favorites?
Actually, my favorite writer must be Dean Koontz.
Oh, he's scary.
Yeah, I was introduced to him by my mother when I think I was 9 or 10 years old, and I was always a very fast reader. I learned to read very early, and when I read a book, that is the only time during the day where I actually switch my brain off. So
Mhm.
I always enjoyed it, and in particular, I always enjoyed horror, and science fiction. But Dean Koontz, I think the first book I ever not wrote, read from him was the book The Experiment.
Oh,
Uh,
I read that one.
and I think I consumed that book as 9-year-old in 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was so sucked into his universe because his whole way of writing is just amazing. I mean, he is writing the way that I feel I write too. I mean, he really write in pictures, and he's so good at writing, so you really can almost taste and feel this whole atmosphere. So I think he will always be one of my favorites, and I cannot put out a specific favorite book because there's a lot.
Yeah.
He is definitely my favorite writer because of his way of writing.
His One of his books was the one that scared me probably the most out of all the books that I've read. Let's see, it was Intensity, I think is what it was called.
Yeah, I mean, he is really intense in the way of his writing. I mean, you can see every picture, even though there is no pictures.
Right. No, I agree. I think that's what it was called. Maybe that's not what it was called, but no, it was called Intensity. Yeah. It was like a book from like the serial killer's point of view, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, he explains that so well. I wonder if his wife like sleeps with one eye open."
Yeah, but I just love when the artists or writers can do that, because that is for me art, when you put your words together that way, that you can plant such a feeling in someone else.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Have you ever thought about, or is that something that you're thinking about putting out, like your own book that tells any stories or creations of your own? Because you're a
Exactly.
good writer.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. But yeah, it's funny you ask, actually, because yes, I have been thinking about, writing a book about. It sounds a little bit cliche, but I would really like to write a book about my own life, and I actually already wrote the introduction down. But the reason I wanted to write a book about my own life, it's not about, because I want to tell me. It's more about I have been through so many things, and I survived so many things, both when it comes to my mental health, when it comes to my childhood, when it comes to illness, whatever. In my short life, I have really been through things that some people don't even go through a whole lifetime. And I have myself read a lot of books from people that I admire and are inspired by, and I know how they helped me. So
Mhm.
that is why I also would like to, maybe not now. I would not release it now. I think I would do it in the future, when I have even more to tell, and when so that I feel it's a little bit more important. But most of all, it would not be for the world. It would more be like a form of a therapy session for
Mhm.
myself, to make closure to many of the things from my past that I maybe didn't find peace with yet. So that whole thing would be like a a journey of self growth, in a healthy way, so to say, to make closure to some of the things in my past. So I have thought about it.
I really, really hope you do, because I think all of what you've already mentioned is so important. I use a lot of people writing stuff out for foreclosure as well, especially if it comes to death of someone that they didn't have a particularly good relationship with, but still are dealing with like guilt and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
for some reason, writing it out is a really good way of processing through stuff. And so I really hope you do for all those reasons, and especially to, help other people not feel alone, and just to find that kind of comfort, through other people's experiences and pain, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I will definitely also do it. But yeah, that will be a little bit later in my life, I think.
Mhm.
But yeah, mostly and for all, I write on it at the moment. Yeah, for myself, as a form of therapy, because I think it's very, very important to face your own demons. That's the only way that you can actually grow. It's when you turn around and actually look them in their eyes. So to say.
Mhm.
It doesn't help to just run away from them. And yeah, I learned that the tough way.
Yeah.
But I think, not to sound arrogant or anything, because I am really not like that. But yeah, I moved out from my parents when I was like 15 years old already, and I have been on my own ever since. I mean, nowadays I have a good relationship to my parents. I mean, they are older, I'm older, whatever. So, but yeah, since I moved out and lived my life on my own, I have been, through a lot of things, not only bad things. I mean, I also, in an age of like 24, I started my own business while I was, studying a full-time education. So yeah, I have been through a lot in my short lifetime, and if that could just inspire like one person in this world to find their own faith in themselves, I mean, then my life really has meaning, because I feel that is my purpose, or maybe not my purpose, but more like that's the way I find meaning in life, because
Mhm.
we are all just here waiting to die. It sounds a bit grotesque, but we are all just here
Yeah.
to fulfill our time before we're dying, so why not try to find like a positive purpose in it? And if that purpose is to help others or to inspire others, then I really think you should go for it.
Yes. I love that. I think that's so wonderful. So
Thank
wonderful. I have
you.
to tell you, because I just thought it was funny when I had seen that your persona was Lilith. My family and friends play Dungeons and Dragons, and we
Oh,
actually fought Lilith in our campaign.
oh,
I thought that was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, because she's a demon, and obviously in all the worlds, but in the D&D world as well, and
yeah,
she was
yeah.
the scariest character for me that we've fought so far. And I was like, oh, how funny.
Yeah, and that's what I meant earlier. I mean, Lilith is not original, so to say, in that, or understood in that way. It's not me who created her, and many other people used her many times before, But still, even though she is used so much, and even though there is so many stories about her, I still felt by heart that, okay, this particular story really speaks to me. So if this should be authentic from my side, I have to stick to what speaks to me. So, but yeah, she is really a figure seen everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I love that you used that. I keep saying the word figure because I can't think of what other word to use, but that female character, figure, whatever you want to say, as your stage presence and as your persona within the band, because it is a very powerful figure, and
Yeah,
women need to remember that there is some power behind us.
yeah,
Oh, it's
you
cutting out.
know, and it's seen through a woman's point of view. I thought, yeah, Lilith, she was the first of all women, so of course
Right.
I have to use it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's cool. It cut out there for a little bit, but I think I got what you were saying.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah, no, you're good. Okay, wonderful. Well, I don't want to keep taking too much of your time. The
Oh, no
best.
worries. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. Yeah, I could sit here and talk about this all day long, between the mental health aspect to the women's oppression to the books.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such interesting themes, and I can also speak for days. But yeah, yeah. But
I'm,
I'm also up for a talk. Yeah.
what are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm actually not reading anything. I really didn't have the time to read
I
the
know,
last.
right?
But I look forward to having a little bit free time again, because then I definitely have to look up for my next obsession.
Yes, yeah. Um, I'm reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which you said you like sci-fi. It's the first time I've ever read it. It's really fun and quirky. I'm only a little bit into the first book, but it definitely has some humane human themes to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the minute that this album is released, and when I have a little bit free time again, I definitely have to look up for some new stuff to read. I have so much to catch up on.
It's the same as music, though, isn't it? There's so many books out there, and so many amazing books out there, that you're like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because then you almost don't know where to start, because there's so much to pick, and when you don't have that much time, you also want to choose wisely.
Right. Don't want to waste your time. But moving back to Defacing God, that's what's so one of the amazing things about being on Napalm Records, is you get that platform to be able to have that audience that already trusts Napalm and already goes through Napalm artists to hear what the new ones are coming out. So you already have that platform to be able to get your name more out there, where, that's difficult right now, because like you said, there's bands coming out constantly. And so what an amazing opportunity, and I'm so glad that they have you on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also extremely grateful for this opportunity, and I do not take it for granted one single day. So yeah, I just really look forward to come out there and spread the music across the world, and I hope very soon.
Yes, I hope so too. Do you have touring plans yet, or are you still kind of in the process of trying to figure that out? And are you coming to the United States?
Yeah, yes, yes. Let's say it like this, because there has been so much, after the pandemic, that all the bands just wanted to get out there. So all the tour spots for this year is already taken. It's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of more because of the album, but for me, it's actually okay, because I like to focus, just release the album now, and I figured that will come a few single shows after the album is released. And then I just landed a new deal with a new management and booking agency, who are really determined to get us out there. They're recommended from Napalm Records, and they also work together with them. So I trust them very much. And I am sure that yeah, we will come out there everywhere, but I think in the beginning of next year we will start out with a European tour.